Добрый вечер, коллеги. Я, пожалуй, начну с того, что представлюсь для тех, кто меня не знает. Я новый декан ИСФАКа, моя фамилия Бондарь, звать Александр Евгеньевич. Сегодня мы собрались для того, чтобы приветствовать здесь и послушать лекцию наших гостей из Франции. Мне представляется большим удовольствием представить вам мистера Тарарина, Мишел Тарарин. Это атташе по науке посольства Французской Республики в Москве. То есть это главный человек, отвечающий за сотрудничество России и Франции, я полагаю. И второй наш гость, наш старый друг, Мишель Спиро, профессор Спиро, сейчас президент управляющего совета Европейского центра ядерных исследований ЦЕРН в Женеве. Сегодня он нам расскажет о проекте Большой адронный коллайдер в ЦЕРНе и той физики, которая связана с этой областью исследований. Лекция будет на английском языке. Предоставляем слово нашему гостю. Мишел, welcome.
Thank you very much. So I'm very pleased to be here in Novosibirsk. It's the first time that I come here, and thanks to people here, I could visit the installation here in Novosibirsk, and I can tell you that I was very impressed. And we all over the world know that Novosibirsk is really a famous place for physics, and particularly for nuclear and particle physics, And as the president of the CERN Council, I look forward to more collaboration between CERN and also between France and Novosibirsk, generally speaking, and particularly in the domain of particle physics. So my lecture will be in English. So you know, it is not my native language, so not for you. So I hope that you will maybe understand me more easily than a native language speaker, like US or English, because I will go slowly, and I think that it will be easier for you. So the subject of my talk will be LHC, you know, this big machine which has started in March this year, and which is ramping up in intensity and maybe soon in energy, and also switching from proton-proton collisions to lead collisions. So this is being done at CERN. CERN is the European Research Laboratory for Particle Physics, which start to become a world laboratory. By the way, there are many contributions from Russia, especially from Novosibirsk in CERN, which are very visible, and the user community from Russia is as many as the French community, or as the English community, or as the German community. So Russia is one of the main players at CERN in the experiments, and as I said, I look forward to stronger links between Russia and CERN. And you know that this physics started by the motivation of looking at the smallest particles in matter, infinitely small, we say in French or in English. But now this search for the ultimate components of matter is connected to the past history of the universe, when the universe was very hot and very dense, and when it was made basically of the same particles that we are studying with accelerators, and with collisions due to the temperature, which were quite similar to the collisions that we produce artificially at CERN with the LHC machine. So in some sense, the LHC machine is a way to get in the past history of the universe, trying to go further in the past of the history of the universe, when it was as hot as the collisions that we are producing with lead or proton-proton collisions at CERN. So the basic goal is to unravel the mysteries of matter and of the universe, origins of the universe, quote unquote, because we probably never access to the real origin. I will discuss that, and I will speak about CERN also, how it is organized. You will see that it is now a global adventure, and in this time where economy is starting to be more and more global, you will see how we do in science to get more and more global. This is not the same way. I think it's more, it's another model which I think is very successful for science and which might be an incentive for maybe in other fields of the society. So I will start by discussing the connection between particles and the Big Bang, so the scientific history of the universe. So first, describe where we are with the understanding the ultimate component of matter, the ultimate structure of matter. Basically, it's like Russian dolls. You know that there are structures which are inside the structure and which are inside the structure and so on. It seems to be an endless process, we'll see. But different from the Russian dolls, these particles interact to make the bigger component, and to make the bigger component, they interact with the forces. And you will see that when going to more and more elementary, smaller and smaller, the diversity of pieces of matter is less and less diverse. With ordinary matter, you have a million of things that to look at around of you. And when you go to the world of elementary particles with accelerators, you have only 10 different pieces, 12 different pieces, and 4 types of interactions. And it seems that going smaller and smaller, you will have less diverse components. Maybe at the end it will be one unique component. And less forces, they all look more and more similar. Maybe at the end there will be only one force, starting from. So I will describe that in more details. Then you will see, and this makes a link between elementary particle physics and cosmology. We are far from understanding everything, and especially now we are hitting an unsolved problem which is huge, which would seem simple. I mean, what is the nature of the vacuum? Vacuum, we would say there is no problem to study because vacuum is vacuum. There is nothing in vacuum, so what to. But there are many other places where there is no complexity, no life. It's like being on Earth, while there are billions of planets, nothing emerges in terms of life, but we are just in the Earth because it's where the temperature, the water, and all the conditions are okay for the complexity to develop. So you have these two possibilities, but theorists tell us that if there is a way to explain this different nature, 10 to the 15 GeV and 20,000 GeV, we should see new signs of the new physics which explain why you have this big hierarchy of energy 10 to the 15 GeV and 100 GeV. We should see it at the LHC because there should be new physics in case there is 2D or in case there are hidden dimensions. We should see it with LHC. So if we don't see any sign of new physics at LHC, it might be that we are just in the place of the universe where complexity could develop by chance, and in other places it's sterile. While if we see new sign of new physics, there is a good chance that we can explain this difference. And maybe one day, I told you that it's very difficult to unify gravitation and quantum field theory, vacuum, while otherwise you have only virtual particles in the vacuum and quantum field. So this is a way to picture this. The vacuum is full of these Higgs particles, but these are virtual particles. The electron is moving in this quasi-medium, and the viscosity which is induced by these virtual particles of Higgs particles induces inertial mass for the electron. But if the Higgs particle mass was light, basically less than 115 GeV, I told you that the previous machine were in the 100 GeV energy range. Then when you had a collision proton-proton, then as I said, you could excite the vacuum and extract a real Higgs from the vacuum in the collision. So we know now that the Higgs particle mass is not light. It is not less than 115 GeV. It should be more than 115 GeV.
otherwise it would have been seen in previous machines at CERN and also elsewhere in the